And now let me speak personally for one moment. I could easily look upon my whole life, let's say until the world told me that I was important a few years ago, it happened. Before that, nobody told me I was important. Until that, I could look at my whole life up to that point as one complete disaster. Nothing actually worked out. I tried that for a few years, and then I was at university, and then I did my PhD, and then I gave that up, and then I drifted for 2 years, and then I went into that, and then I tried that, and it didn't, many things, okay, and then my mother said, okay, now you're 45, what have you achieved? Others have already built up big businesses. And so on the level of story, it was a big disaster. And yet, fortunately, at some point already, I had given up identification with the story. That the story was only my identity up to the age of 29, and it was a very unhappy one, even there. Even when that was my relatively successful. The only worldly success I had was I did well at university up to before I became a graduate student. And it made me happy for 2 weeks. And so, isn't it strange that a failed story can produce a flower? The flower of consciousness. And perhaps the flower of consciousness needs the mud out of which it grows. You have the beautiful image of the lotus in Buddhism, the symbol of Buddhism. The lotus flower, it has its roots in the mud, and it grows out of that. And there's nothing more beautiful in human life than a failed story. And the good news is, every story ultimately fails because the story is based on the forms, it identifies with forms, and no forms last for that long. No building lasts for that long. Eventually it crumbles. All forms are temporary and they are beautiful. The essence that is hiding in each form is the formless one life. That is indestructible. But even this beautiful form, Finton, it is not eternal as a form, but the eternal shines through the forms here. That is why, because the forms are transparent, and you also are not eternal as this form, and yet a transparency is happening in you even as you sit here, so that that which is beyond form, no matter what we call it, stillness, presence, beingness, a deep sense of I am, that before got mixed up with the story of me, and that the preciousness of being is your true specialness. What the egoic self had been looking for on the level of the story, I want to be special, that very thought obscured the fact that you already could not be more special than you are now, but not special in the egoic sense that more than he or more than she. Special in the sense that there is a beauty and preciousness that is the essence of your being, and that is what deep down you can sense. Even the person who is most completely identified with their story and their conceptual sense of self, they feel that there's something precious that is me, but they confuse it with the forms, thought forms. It gets that essence of being, which is formless and timeless, gets mixed up with form, with thought. and a story in the head. And that is what the Buddha calls the fictitious self, the self that the Buddha, even 2,600 years ago, recognized as an illusion, an enormous insight, the greatest, perhaps the greatest insight of all humanity, when he recognized the self is an illusion. And by that he means the self that is identified with any form, thought form, physical form, anything. And that is the illusion, to lose oneself in some form. And then the preciousness of being, that is the essence, that is timeless and formless in every human and in every life form, one could say, incarnates in form. And there's nothing wrong with incarnating in form as long as you know yourself as that which is beyond form. But if you lose yourself in the incarnation, and ultimately you had to do that too, that was part of the totality of how things work. To lose oneself is, as the Buddha called it, suffering. Then you suffer because you don't know who you are anymore. You're looking for yourself in some form, in some thought form, in some physical form that you identify with, which is then also a thought form. Me. And so everybody is looking for the essence of their being, not knowing that the specialness that they look for is already the essence of who they are. But they can only find it when they stop looking for themselves in the future through more. So the one place, it's all like some strange game. The one place where you truly can only find yourself in that one place most humans never look, which is the present moment. They look there for themselves. And to feel, I want to be more. On the level of form, you can temporarily be more. That's true. And then that dissolves again. But there is a level within yourself where more does not operate. You do not need to be more. You are already a full expression of the one life. You are already complete on the level of the timeless, the essence of your being. Now, the only reason why you needed time was you needed to be ready to hear this truth and recognize it as a truth. For that, one could say you need time to hear the message that to be who you are, you don't need time. But the paradox is there are still many humans to whom this would be meaningless, and they don't come here. They need, in other words, they need more time. They need to continue to look for themselves, and they need to continue to be frustrated in their search. That is part of the larger design. The frustration is built into human existence. And so that's what the world is for, the so-called world. It is there to frustrate you and to drive you deeper, to eventually drive you out of identification with form. Because as long as you're identified with form, it is so frustrating. And you can never make it. You can never arrange the forms and accumulate all the forms that you need, you think you need to be yourself. Or sometimes you can do it for a very brief time span. You can suddenly find everything is now working in my life. My health is good, my relationship is great, great money, got possessions, everybody loves me. They all write good things about me. It's all working. My job, my living situation, my finances, my health, my relationships, they're all great. But before long, something there starts to crumble here or there. It's either the finances, or it's the relationship, or it's the living situation. So it's in the nature of the world of form that nothing stays fixed for very long. And so it starts to crumble again here. You just had sorted it all out. And so that's why humans, they experience life as a series of frustrations. Why can't it work? And so it doesn't work because they are looking for themselves there. They are demanding that the world of form should make them complete and happy. I demand that this world should complete who I am, should give me my sense of self. I just need this and that from there, and then that's all. This is what I demand. And then it's not happening. There's something wrong here. Life isn't working. It seems to be working for everybody else, but it's not working for me. I read in the magazines, all the glossy people, it seems to be working for them. But only if you look at the glossy pictures. If you visited them at home, you would see that it's not working for them either. So it's built into living here is frustration. It's meant to be frustrating. This is the whole, there is a purpose, but people haven't seen it. So it's quite a relief to recognize, first of all, the world cannot make me happy. To demand that situations, people, places, or attainments should complete me or make me happy are bound to be frustrated, whether I attain or do not attain. Okay, so that looks very negative, doesn't it? And that's why when you don't go deeper, when you only see the surface, you see, oh, all is vanity, as the Old Testament prophet said. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. I've seen it all. I can't remember the exact words, but I'm giving you a free translation. I've seen it all, I've done it all, and it's all completely meaningless. That's what he said. And that was probably an elderly man who had tried it all. And now, why did they put this into the Bible? Isn't it very negative to have such a statement that life is completely vain, whatever you can achieve is vanity? They put that in there because when you see the truth of it, you're already becoming free of it. The seeing of the inability of the world to make you happy, the seeing of the short-lived nature of whatever forms you encounter in your life, what is it in you that is able to see that and say, ah, or even laugh? What before was a dreadful story and frustration, you suddenly step out of your own story and see that your own frustrating story is not your personal dilemma, but the human condition. And you derived your sense of self from that, which is nothing personal whatsoever. It's the human condition. And that it's the human condition in its unconscious state, its unenlightened state. And that's what gave you your sense of personal selfhood, and that you wanted to cling to. And now you step out of it by simply seeing it. The seeing means something is arising that is not part of that unconsciousness. And that is why they put it into the Bible, because when you see it, that which can witness that in you, the impermanent nature of all forms, the fictitious nature of the mind-made story, what is it in you that is able to look at that and see, ah, that is not thought, that is the ability to be aware and hold up the mirror of awareness and simply see it there. Or let's say better, the light of awareness shines on it. The light of awareness shines on it and sees what before you were trapped in, the frustrating story of my life. And there is no life that's not ultimately frustrating. It only begins, it loses its frustration when you do not look to the world anymore for your satisfaction or for yourself. When you give up demanding that people, places, situations should make you happy and fulfill you, you don't demand it anymore, then suddenly the ability arises to allow the forms of this moment to be as they are. Because life at this moment already, always is as it is. It always, the isness you cannot doubt. Whatever forms appear in the present moment, it always is as it is. And so most humans are in a conflict relationship with the isness of life. They internally run away from it or reject it, criticize it, complain about it, or look somewhere else. I don't want the isness of this, I want that. So when you see what the world cannot do for you, you no longer, you drop your demand because you see it as absurd to demand something of the world that it cannot deliver. And then you can simply be with whatever is, and this moment are always inseparable, of course. Whatever is at this moment is as it is. I don't demand that this place, even if you come here and you demand that Fintorn should make me happy. If you came with that demand, you would probably already have experienced frustration here. Because no place is capable of doing that for long. Or doing it at all. And so you come here and say there's little things, oh, that shouldn't be here. There's a Royal Air Force base right next to the spiritual center. It doesn't make sense. And so you can complain about that. That shouldn't be. Why did they put that here? They should have gone somewhere else. And then you can say, I came here to find peace, and what do I find? I find screaming jets. I'm going home. And that's only one thing. And you'll find many more. My roommate snores. I can't get a night. I have to wait for the bathroom. And it's not sunny. This is late May and it's not sunny. I should never have come to Scotland. It's not. So if you, just little examples of if you expect a place to fulfill you, it can't do that. In no place, even if you went to a South Pacific island, there would be something that is not quite right. It doesn't fit there. Whatever it is. The sunshine every day, it's too much. The mosquitoes at night, I didn't know about that. They didn't mention them in the travel brochures. So here again, a beautiful opportunity to drop the demand that a particular place should make you happy, or give you peace, or help you find yourself, and simply then bring a yes to whatever form this moment takes. Instead of demanding that the form of this moment should be different in order to satisfy me. So you bring an inner alignment into your relationship with the present moment. Let's put it like that. the way in which you relate to life, which is always now, only now, an inner alignment comes in with now. So you do not internally separate yourself from now, which is life. Life and now are one. Because that is a source of great frustration and suffering. And so, whatever form this moment takes, there's a jet flying, it may be raining, and then there's some sun coming through. Good, bad, the mind could call this good, could call this bad, but it all is as it is at this moment. And an enormous freedom comes into your life when you drop the demand that this should be other than it is. And then you no longer demand that Finton should make you happy or give you peace. And then every moment, or rather the one moment, is as it is. You go one step at a time to wherever you go, and you look around, and you stand, and you walk, and you sit, and there are people coming, people going, things here, things there. And suddenly, as you bring an inner alignment to the now, something arises within you that has nothing to do with the form that this moment takes. And it arises because you allow the form that this moment takes to be as it is. So in allowing the form that this moment takes, internally embracing it, saying, I might as well say yes because it is life, because it is the only moment there ever is, the now. I might as well embrace it and say, yes, that's how it is. This does not diminish your ability to change if anything needs changing. Action arises out of the alignment with what is.
Reality is what makes the present so vital, so different from the past and future, which are merely mental. If you need time to achieve something, it must be false. If you need time to achieve something, it must be false. The real is always with you. You need not wait to be what you are, only you must not allow your mind to go out of yourself in search. All experience is illusory, limited and temporal. Expect nothing from experience. Realization is not an experience.